Hey, this is Scott Eustace. Just recording some notes on investigating atchafalaya and communicating that to the public. I've just been digging into looking at aerial photo records in order to deal with this issue. Hopefully, you can see that here. The Google Earth image from 1998 is available. Apparently, this is a 1998 USGS photo. Sorry for the neighbor's steel grinding. Um, in this photo of Bayou Sorrel, we can go to the typical areas in the East Grand Lake unit where Dean does a tour, including the boat launch. A black and white photo does show the the water laden with sediment a bit better than the color imagery, even though color imagery is most available. And I don't know the relation to the elevation of the water from these photographs. Um, um, so here's the launch. Here's the Williams. No, sorry, this is the Florida gas pipeline. At the time, it was a canal, so you can still see that there was water in this and that you could traverse it by water. But that water is very similar in color to the shipping channel, right? You zoom out and you can even see kind of the general pattern of sedimentation coming from this pipeline canal. Whereas if this pipeline canal in the, this cut from the shipping channel in a straight line, which is acting as a sediment diversion, if it wasn't there, water would be able to flow across it. And this is the reason for the Nature Conservancy East Grand Lake project, and it's the part we agree with. You can also see that, as you move further down, the water is darker. So at this moment in 1998, it wasn't actually flowing all the way through. That's interesting. I think it's worse now. It's filled in with sediment. So 1998. So in 20 years, we've probably had, you know, 3 to 5 feet of fill. Um, so I don't know. Do the math on inches. Um, uh, uh, right. It's more than an inch a year, I'll say, which is the Buffalo Cove standard. So, this cut from the shipping channel made for a pipeline exceeds the sedimentation rates proposed by Buffalo Cove as a standard. Um, blah, 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 and I think part of that standard was 200 feet away. And so we can see that the color of the photo changes more than 800 feet away with kind of an average of 500 feet. It's spreading out, and you can see that the still water here is dark. Look at this sedimentation down this oil canal where it seems like, and I think this is Bayou Canyon, so it was part of the later part of the tour that we took this month. Um, but I guess let's just back up and look at the Bayou Sorrel cut. Although Google's not loading very well, you can see very well through the black and white imagery in 1998 that sediment is flowing. If it loads, sediment is flowing from west to east, and it's flowing northeast, which you would think that means it's flowing uphill. It's actually not uphill because this is a basin; it's very flat. So the elevation changes don't necessarily correspond to north and south, although they're roughly oriented north-south. You can see there's a lot of buildup to the southern part. Um, That's 2,000 feet south of the Bayou Sorrel Cut. So again, if the Bayou Sorrel Cut were judged by Buffalo Cove standards, it's thousands of feet away from the element, and we've got probably, from looking at lidar, we've got 13 feet of elevation here. But we go down Bayou Canyon, and I wish it would load. And into the pipeline canal. You can still traverse this pipeline canal and see the sediment depositing in Lake Murphy, which is just off screen here. What's also interesting, you see this other pipeline, which I think we also have linked that to Energy Transfer Partners, but I'm not totally sure. But you see how this bee sting, as Jody Mesh says, shows the spoil bank cuts and elevation changes related to the mocha colored water flowing through the pipeline right away. So the pipeline right away conveys the sediment, and then even if you put spoil banks with gaps, you get this, where the gaps in the spoil bank will distribute sediment. So and those aren't very deep. So we are highly critical of attempts to put more gaps in the Bayou Sorrel navigation cut. Although this cut was made for water quality purposes. So legally, this is horrible. It's, if this really is for water quality purposes, it's adding tons of pollution to the system in ways that are making other things like spoil bank management features a problem. It's reversing the benefits of previous water flow management features. We can also see some oil field damages, and note this area which isn't damaged, which will become damaged in photos after 2005. But there we have those dead forests that are full of salt from Shell, Western E&P, Bayou Sorrel Oil, I think National, and then Shell Oil proper. We're 4 companies involved in this Bayou Sorrel oil field and have some typical oil field damages. But it's a minor. Oil field damages they exist here, but they are minor compared to the sedimentation issue, and you can kind of see the scale of that. Like if we've lost maybe 10 acres total of forest where you can't see the shadows anymore, so you know that you don't have trees around this platform, maybe that's a 10-acre footprint. But then look at this, the sedimentation here is just in the forest conversion problem of eliminating swamp in this swath of where you see the color change is tremendous. Yeah, so some of the elements of the Nature Conservancy project would be to eliminate some of the impacts from this Energy Transfer Partners pipeline. In this photo, you do see what Nature Conservancy will talk about, the hydraulic dam. Bayou Pigeon unit, which is north of East Grand Lake unit, and the Bayou Sorrel cut provides the boundary for the management units, which is a shame. But yes, this unit can't flow south very well because of that hydraulic dam. The water is pushing northeast to the extent that it's going to block water trying to flow south from Bayou Sorrel. And here you even see the muddiness like making its way up into Bayou Pigeon unit through eddies. So, you know, one thing that would be proposed would be to make cuts in the spoil bank for the biosorrel cut, but that would also lead to plumes. And again, the general trend is from north to south overall, but it still would lead to plumes off a biosorrel cut that would fill in wetlands. Um, it's interesting. You see, this looks like a spoil bank for this canal, and it would be interesting to see how that interacts with the current day. This looks like a natural lake. All right, so that's just some photo review. I'm going to cut this and talk about biosorrel salt scars specifically.